May I say a few words? It was 1851 at the Ohio Women's Rights Convention in Akron. The meeting was supposed to be about expanding women's rights. Instead, it was descending into chaos. As women rose to speak, they were interrupted by hecklers. Local men, ministers, and even some women challenged nearly every argument. They argued that men were naturally superior to women. Ministers even pointed to Eve, claiming that because the first sin came through a woman, women should always remain subordinate under Scripture. Some in the audience supported change. Others were determined to stop it. Then, from the back of the room, a tall woman slowly rose to her feet. She hadn't prepared a speech. She carried no notes. She simply had something she needed to say. Her name was Sojourner Truth. Not everyone welcomed the idea of a black woman addressing the convention. Some supporters of women's rights worried her presence would distract from their cause. But Sojourner didn't wait for permission. She calmly stepped forward and asked, "May I say a few words?" What followed would become one of the most famous speeches in American history. Today, most people know it by the title, "Ain't I a Woman?" Long before the world knew her as Sojourner Truth, she was known by another name, Isabella Baumfree. Born into slavery in New York around 1797, Isabella was taken from her family when she was just 9 years old and sold to a new owner. A flock of sheep was included in the transaction, as though a little girl and livestock carried the same value. Growing up in rural New York, Isabella spoke only Dutch during her early childhood. When new owners gave orders in English that she couldn't understand, she was harshly punished. The scars of those early years stayed with her for the rest of her life. For nearly 30 years, Isabella lived under the cruelty of slavery. She performed exhausting manual labor, endured relentless hardship, and experienced the heartbreak of seeing members of her family torn away from her. Like countless enslaved mothers, she lived with the constant fear that her children could be taken from her at any moment. In 1826, just before New York's final abolition of slavery took effect, Isabella escaped with her infant daughter Sophia. The decision came at an unimaginable cost. She was forced to leave her older children behind, but she never stopped hoping to bring her family back together. 2 years later, she made history. When her 5-year-old son, Peter, was illegally sold into slavery in Alabama, Isabella took a white man to court. She won. Peter was returned to his mother, making Isabella one of the first black women in the United States to successfully challenge a white man in court. It would not be the last time she stood before a judge seeking justice. After a profound religious awakening, Isabella believed God had given her a new purpose. She changed her name to Sojourner Truth. She chose Sojourner because she believed she was called to travel from place to place. She chose Truth because she intended to speak the truth wherever she went. From that day forward, she devoted her life to preaching, speaking out against slavery, and fighting for equal rights. During the Civil War, she recruited black soldiers for the Union Army and gathered food, clothing, and supplies for newly freed families. Even after the war ended, Sojourner refused to stop fighting. In Washington, D.C., black passengers were often ignored or forcibly removed from streetcars, despite laws prohibiting discrimination. One day, Sojourner had had enough. She boarded a streetcar anyway. The conductor violently threw her from the car, dislocating her arm. Once again, she turned to the courts, and once again, she won. Her victory helped force Washington's streetcar companies to obey the law they had been ignoring. In 1867, Sojourner Truth moved to Battle Creek, Michigan, where she campaigned for federal land grants to help formerly enslaved people build new lives. She later met President Ulysses S. Grant and even worked on his 1872 re-election campaign. That same year, she attempted to vote. She was turned away. But, like so many times before, Sojourner refused to let injustice silence her. She continued traveling the country, lecturing and attending women's rights conventions for as long as she was able. Even after she became nearly blind and deaf, she never stopped speaking out for equality, justice, and human dignity. Sojourner Truth passed away on November 26, 1883, at the age of about 86. She was born into slavery. She could neither read nor write. Yet her courage carried her from an auction block to courtrooms, to the halls of presidents, and to one of the most influential voices in American history. Long after her voice fell silent, the truth she spent her life defending still speaks today. If this story inspired you, join us as we continue uncovering the lives of women who changed the world. Subscribe to Heroines of History and keep the light of history alive. And let us know in the comments who your favorite heroine is. Bye for now.